It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Bernie Stoltz, the CEO of Fortune Management. He was one of the first people I ever asked to come on the show, and 1,000 episodes later, he's finally here. He's talking to us today from his headquarters in Santa Clara, California, the heart of Silicon Valley. He's a seasoned motivator, public speaker, and acclaimed coach with over 30 years of business leadership in the healthcare community. Bernie Stoltz is the CEO of Fortune Management, the world's largest executive coaching organization for doctors. Bernie leads more than 80 coaches in over 60 cities throughout the United States and Canada. He has conducted thousands of training programs across the country to help thousands of doctors become their personal and professional best. He has dedicated his life to achievement in areas of marketing, public relations, advertising, business management, and principled-centered leadership. Bernie, it's an honor to have you on the show today, buddy.
It is a pleasure to be with you, Howard. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. You said we were last on the same program in 2005, and where was it at?
I think we were in San Francisco. We were doing one of Fortune's big personal power events with Tony Robbins at the Palace Hotel, and you did a great job for us.
And so yeah, and I owe so much to Tony Robbins because he came out with his 30-day personal power when my kids were little. And I never parked my car in the garage. It's always been a gym. And we would work out to those 30 tapes. And my 4 boys, they had so many one-liners from that show. Your attitude determines your altitude. And I mean, they had so many one-liners. So I love Tony Robbins for that. He did so much for my kids. So, Bernie, I want to start with a macroeconomic question. So we're podcasting today. And people our age, they don't know how to podcast. If I went out with my drinking buddy Dennis and Phoenix and put a gun to their head and say, download a podcast on your iPhone, I'd have to shoot all my friends. So I always ask them, send me an email, howard@dentaltown.com. Tell me who you are, how old you are, what you think of the show, whatever. And they're about 25% are still in dental school. The rest are all under 30. I only get like 1 email a week that says, dude, I'm a grandpa too. So, but a lot of these kids come out of school and they say, Bernie, you don't get it. You and Howard, been in this 30 years. 30 years ago was the golden years, and it was great. Now we're coming out, $300,000 in student loans. There's corporate dentistry. The insurance is now all PPO, and Howard graduated during the golden years. And I think I might have made a big mistake going into dentistry in 2018. What would you say to that little girl who just graduated from dental kindergarten school? She's 25 with $300,000 in debt. Are there still good days left in dentistry?
Absolutely. If you graduated in the golden days, Howard, then these are the platinum days. And I don't say that sarcastically. I think one quote that I'll give you right off the bat is that evolvement in anything, evolvement plus reflection equals, problems plus reflection equal evolution. And I think you and I would probably both agree that dentistry today is changing massively, and it's evolving. The need for dental care is never going to go away. How we deliver it is clearly going to change. And in fact, let's go back to that golden age of dentistry. And this is something that I lecture about all the time today, and that is, if we go back 25, 30 years ago, I never forget a classroom very close to where you're based right there in Phoenix. I was sitting in a room with Omer Reed. We all know Omer Reed. And in that classroom was a whole room full of younger, we'll call them at the time, 30-year-old dentists. And Omer was talking about complete care dentistry. And one of the students asked him, said, Omer, how is it that you see all of these cases? And I just don't see these cases in my practice. I don't see them coming through my doors. And I loved what Omer said. He looked at him, he said, no. He goes, you see them, you just don't see them. And the reason I tell that story is because one thing is never going to go out of date in dentistry, and that is the need for a doctor to have great clinical skills. Because what we know, whether it was 30 years ago or whether it is today, a dentist will only diagnose to the level of their own clinical expertise. So we know that doesn't change. But here's where the evolution comes in today, Howard. The evolution comes in is it is just as important. If we put a percentage on it and we say that the doctor's clinical skill set is 50% of their success, and I don't even know if it's that much anymore, but we'll err on that side. I will tell you that the other 50% is massively dependent on the environment that we place the dentist in. Now, let me define environment 5 ways. Number 1, it is the facilities we put them in. Number 2, it's the technology that we make available to them. Number 3, it's the team we surround them with. Number 4, it's the systems that are being used in that environment. And number 5, it's the culture. And what that means today is that dentistry's got to evolve with that. And so there's a lot of ways we do that. But the other thing you do is you say, look, let's take a look at what the consumer wants today, right? The consumer wants what? They want better, they want faster, they want more affordable, and to a less degree, they want safer dentistry. So how do we take all of that on what the consumer needs and also talk about how that overlays with an environment that we place a young dentist in, and therein lays your answer.
What did you call those 5 things of the environment? The 5 what of an environment? The 5?
Well, I'll just call them 5 things that make up the environment. One is the facility. So what I mean today is, and match that to what the consumer wants. The consumer wants a really, really cool environment to get their dentistry done in. They want to see technology. They want to see really nice people that are good communicators. They want to see that there is a systemized process there, but not one that makes it impersonal, one that just makes the delivery of the care more efficient. And then the 5th thing has got to be the culture. And so all of those determine, I think, a successful dental environment today. Now, I'll go one step further, though. I will say that the days of the single practitioner working 4 days a week and rendering 32 hours of availability and doing it all on their own, that is what is going to, it won't completely go away, but it will not be mainstream dentistry in the 21st century. And here's what I would say. I would say that there's really 3 dimensions to dentistry. There's always going to be the boutique dentist. There's always going to be the boutique dentist who wants to not take any insurance and work 4 days a week and market the heck out of themselves through social media and everything else. And they'll always make a decent living, but it'll be harder and harder because what they're going to do with the rest of their careers, they're going to trade time for dollars. And I would make an argument that as long as a dentist is working in a single practitioner environment, they have a well-paid job, a good-paying job, but they have not created an organization, nor have they really built a company. They're a business operator, not a business owner. I would say on the other end of that spectrum is corporate dentistry, which we know today is 30 to 40% of the market.
And what are you calling these? The 3 types of what?
The 3 types of how dentistry is really being delivered in this country and will be delivered in the future, even more so. So you got 2 ends of the spectrum, right? You get the single practitioner on one side. You got the DSOs and MSOs on the other side. But here's where the future for private practitioners is, I believe. It's in the center of that. What it is, it's doing the same thing that private practitioner MDs had to do 25, 30 years ago. They had to evolve. And what that means is they're creating multiple providers under one roof so that 3 or 4 GPs can have access to a CEREC machine and to a cone beam technology, and they can all afford a state-of-the-art facility, and they can have one shared P&L so that they can be massively profitable by taking advantage of something we teach today at Fortune called economy of scale. That is the way forward for most dentists in this country, is my belief.
Well, when you talked about the 5 things that make up your environment, you said facilities, technology, team, systems, culture. Most dental office cultures are, what does an office manager tell a dentist with 2 black eyes?
What? You got me.
Nothing. She's already told him twice. But so basically, back to the 5 things that make up your environment: facilities, technology. A lot of these kids come out of school. Remember, we're talking to mostly 30 and under. They say, Bernie, I graduated with $300,000 of student loans. If I graduate and I buy a Cerac machine for $150, if I buy a CBCT, that's another $150, and if I buy a Millennium Laser, that could cost me $70,000 to $130,000. I could make 3 purchases and double my student loan. So my question to you is, what technologies do you think have a return on investment?
Well, I think the number one return on investment, I think, in today's dental market has got to be CEREC and CAD/CAM technology, for a couple reasons. First of all, it's a perfect example of a piece of equipment that can make the practice and dentist more profitable while allowing them to render the care more affordably. But it also, the reason why it's a sweet spot for me is because it also plays right into what the consumer wants. Consumer wants single visit dentistry. Consumer wants the convenience. They want, and the quality does not have to decline by using CAD/CAM technology today. So I think that's a great example right there.
Are there any other technologies you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think lasers are another thing that the consumer wants. I mean, there's a new laser out on the market right now. You've probably heard of it, Solea laser, and whether it's Solea or it's the Light Walker. These are high-powered lasers that can eliminate shots and drills.
You said the Light Walker from Solea?
No. The Solea is a company on their own, and that's kind of the number one that we're endorsing today because, like, for instance, if you're running a pedo practice today and you can bring mom in and you can say, look, we can take care of all Johnny's little fillings right now in 10 minutes with no shots and no drills, and you don't have to come back for a second scary appointment, that's going to close the deal right there. But what it's doing also is it's compressing our provider's schedule in such a way so that the profitability is better as well. So I think lasers and things like Soleil are great. CEREC is great. I think also you got to follow the trend in, I think a CBT, cone beam is
okay,
absolutely.
Okay, so Solea is the brand name of the laser, but sold by Convergent Dental.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry.
Got it.
Sorry. Come on, dude. I'm 55. I got 4 grandchildren. You're giving me brain farts.
Oh, come on. I'm a grandpa, too.
Are you, Grandpa? How many do you have?
Just one, man. I got a 3.5-year-old, and hey, aren't grandkids great? That you can spoil them and then you can give them back, right?
They're awesome. I'm just, my homies are driving, so I always retweet. By the way, thank you so much for following me at Howard Farran. We're at 25,000 followers. I just retweeted Convergent Dental. They're at Solea, Solea, and their deal was check out Dr. Misner using the Solea laser on his pediatric patient, Matthew Novocaine, pain-free. That really is a no-brainer for a pediatric office. Do you remember Margolis?
That doesn't ring a bell.
Brett Margolis. It made me sad when you say that because I already have 3 RIP podcasts that I've done. One is Carl Misch, who you knew well. He did a 2.5-hour podcast before he died. The other was Bob Ibsen, founder of Denmat, the toothpaste, Rembrandt. He was a real legend of mine. But the other one was Fred Margolis. He was Star Wars of dentistry. He was the pediatric dentist who pioneered all of this pediatric laser stuff. And I did a podcast with him before he passed away, and he was saying the same thing. He goes, come on, they're kids. Why are you giving them a shot? Plus, you give them a shot, then you got to go wait for it to soak in for 5-10 minutes. He goes, I don't give a shot, and I'm done with the whole damn filling in 5 to 10 minutes. And moms love it because it's Star Wars. And that's what he called himself, the Star Wars of dentistry. And the guy just crushed it. So you were saying Soleil lasers, which is made by Convergent. And you were talking about what was the other one you said? The Light Walker.
Well, CEREC by Sirona. Obviously, we're a big advocate of Dentsply Sirona, and we are really, to them, we are the digital dentistry practice management leader, and so we take a big part with them, and really appreciate the national alliance.
Okay, but what was the other one you said? You said Lightwalker?
Oh, the other, yes. Photona is the company.
Oh, yeah, that's a neat word because it's a play on photon. So photon.
Yeah, now that will not do, from what I understand. And I'm not the expert on this, but I don't know that it can do everything that the Solea can do. But I know that there are a lot of them out there, and I know that.
Well, I got to tell you the other side of lasers. I have a friend of mine whose name I won't mention because he can drive over my house and beat the crap out of me. He's a podiatrist. And he says when he's doing podiatrist surgery that he wants to take a 15 blade, lay a flap, get out his electric handpiece with a big burr and grind everything off. And he says, I do it in 5 minutes. But he said, that's not what the damn market wants. So he says, I get this damn laser, which takes me twice as long, 3 times long to make the incision. Because when I advertise and market that I'm a podiatrist, a laser foot surgeon, he goes, it's just crazy marketing. So he says, I'm a late, when other podiatrists from around the country say, so you really recommend this laser? He says, I recommend it for marketing. I mean, this guy's built his whole deal, just like Fred Margolis built his whole marketing in a very competitive town of Chicago, that he was a laser pediatric dentist who didn't give shots. Well, man, that was just made his office standing room only. So do you think a laser is more for clinicians or more for marketing and public relations and social media?
I think it's both. I mean, like the Photona laser, I know is a huge branding tool and marketing tool for endodontics. We rebranded a whole practice over in Honolulu a few years ago. It used to be Honolulu Endodontics. Now it's Honolulu Laser Endodontics. So I think it's both. I think it's marketing for the patients, but I think it's also efficiency. And here's what I would say that maybe is a little different from the podiatry, is that my hallucination is that dental patients want to be in and out quicker, not take longer. So I think technology can do that on all these things.
But you're not sure the difference between the Photona Lightwalker or the other one?
I'm not sure they compete for the same market. I mean, I know that Solea is a really big hit with being able to prep the fillings.
I got to tell my users, I got to warn them, do not go to the Photana website because they also.
I would get Solea on for a podcast.
Oh, I have. I've got the owner on, but I went to the Photana website and they also do gynecology, Ryan. And look at these pictures. I really recommend you do not go to the Photana website because right after D for dentistry is G for gynecology, and it's photonic gynecology lasers, and there's more. Anyway. So what were we talking about? Who are you again?
Well, I don't know, but Fortune doesn't coach gynecologists, so I think we're okay.
Well, that was the other question I wanted to ask you so much because you're not just a legend in dentistry. You do medicine, you do optometry, you do veterinarian. So I want you to tell this little girl who's 25 years old, who just graduated from A.T. Still University or Midwestern here in Phoenix, if she could go back and do it all, she's a dentist, but you work with veterinarians, optometrists, and medical. What was the best decision? Should she have been an optometrist, a veterinarian, or a medical?
I think different conversations. I think that, first of all, we love plastic surgery. one of the reasons why we love plastic surgery is because people will spend, as you know, Howard, 10 times as much and 10 times as fast for what they want and what emotionally moves them versus needs-based. And we see that in dentistry as well. So plastic surgery is just killing it in the economy today. And what I always challenge rooms full of dental audiences, I say, so of all those large treatment plans that a plastic surgeon does, how much of that do you think was covered by the insurance? That's a big center of a donut, right? Hardly nothing. So we love that. Obviously, it's a longer educational process. Veterinary medicine is great if you don't want to talk to people. I'm just joking, but a lot of veterinarians will absolutely go into that trade because their social skills are not that good, and they just feel more comfortable in that. And again, I would say veterinary medicine is great because again, insurance is not involved with it, and I think it's emotional. People will spend more to keep their dog or cat alive than they will themselves. The one that I think is in for a tough road in the future is optometry. That has been most impacted by the big box stores and online, and that's a tough road to hoe. And as far as fortune's concerned, look, our roots have always been in dentistry. We're 29 years and in dentistry. Those have always been our roots, always will be, and we love dentistry. But one of the things I tell people in dentistry is if you want to have a different type of practice, talk to your patients about the things that emotionally move them. What patients want to have a conversation with, if it's not going to be just needs-based, insurance-based dentistry, is you want to have conversations with them about how can they live longer, how can they look better, how can they sleep better, how can they feel better. And modern dentistry can do that today, Howard.
I just, for my homies on Twitter, you're at Fortune MGM for MGMT for Management Inc. And I'm retweet, even though you don't follow me. I'm, my gosh, Ryan.
.com, FortuneMGMT.com.
I am so upset. He doesn't.
And I do follow you.
No,
you're
no,
a legend
no.
You're a legend in your own mind.
Look. You're not following me on Twitter. But anyway, no, I'm just teasing you. But you're not following. But I
don't follow anybody on Twitter.
But I like that. To achieve, I'm retweeting a couple of your quotes right now. To achieve a goal you have never achieved before, you must start doing things you have never done before, by Jim Stewart. Another one I just retweeted was, you can't run from who you are, but you can run towards who you want to become. That is so true. I want to tell you something about the veterinarian. Number one, it was one of the most traumatic things that ever happened to me in my entire life. I was about 10 years old. My little dog, Nippy, he went from about 10 pounds to 25 pounds in about a week. And my dad had 9 Sonic drive-ins, and he had 5 in Wichita. I had 1 in Childress, Texas, Abilene, Kansas, Kearney, Nebraska, and Louisville, Kentucky, and he was gone. And I kept telling my mom, something's wrong with my dog. And she said, well, your father's going to be home, this weekend, and you wait till your father gets home. So my dad got home, and I said, Dad, we got to take Nippy to the vet. He's something's wrong with him. He's doubled in size. And so he said, all right. So we put him in his big old Lincoln Town Car, and we drove to the vet and took him to the vet, and the vet took him back, and the vet came out and said, Nippy's very, very sick, and he's going to need an operation, and it's going to be about $5,000. And my dad, who, Lincoln Town Car, 9 Sonic drive-ins, leans over, gives Nippy a kiss, and says, Nippy, you're going to see Jesus. And I'm like, no, Dad, no. And I was like crying and everything, and he's like, Howard, you don't spend $5,000 on a dog. So I practiced 30 years in Ahwatukee, 48th Street in LA, across the street from me. This vet's practiced 30 years. My office is 4,000 square foot. His is 6,000. He has grossed more than $1 million in a year than I do. And I can't tell you how often I'll say to a patient they'll need a root canal, and they go, I don't have any money. I just spent $5,000 across the street for chemotherapy on my cat. And I'm like, a cat? A cat is dinner in most countries. You just spent but you're true. It's veterinarian and plastic surgery is so emotional. And by the way, a lot of people think I've had a ton of plastic surgery, and I have not. This is all natural. And if I
Howard, I never made that accusation.
if some girl has a problem with my looks, what I do instead of having plastic surgery, I just turn the lights off and then give her alcohol, and it works every time. It's far cheaper than plastic surgery. But and Ryan can vouch for all that. So what I'm proud the most of my dental homies, and like you say, medical, if they're doing cosmetic surgery, they're not dealing with insurance. They do great. Veterinary's doing great. When I'm in Ahwatukee here, the dentists and the vets and the podiatrists and the chiropractors and the plastic surgeons are Star Wars competitive in marketing, advertising, location, facilities. But if it's just your typical medical practice that takes Medicare, Medicaid, and your insurance, it's 20 years behind. You go in there, they still have the glass deals, and some lady slides open the glass deal and hands you a chart, never makes eye contact. I mean, I'm proud of dentists. They're far more sophisticated than your average MD in every aspect of business.
I agree.
You agree?
And although medicine is evolving too, I mean, one of the things that you're going to see more and more of is concierge medicine today.
Right.
I'm a member myself. My wife and I are members of a national organization called One Medical. It's amazing. I got an app on my phone. I can make an appointment. I can talk to a doctor through my iPhone if I want. I walk in there and there's nobody in the waiting room. Everything's handled. So, I mean, they're evolving too. But I think dentistry, that's where dentistry's got to lead the charge, and it has.
So back to your deal. So tell my homies exactly what you do. If they go to your website, Fortune MGMT, fortunemanagement.com, and then they click dental, what do you exactly do? Because they're all driving to work right now, or they're on the Stairmaster or treadmill, what do you actually do for people? What are they going to find on your website? Do you have what programs? Is it programs, lectures, books, tapes? What do you do? What are you doing for my homies?
All of the above, Howard. So I'll give you just a quick overview, and that is Fortune at this point. We're 29 years in the making. We are the leading and the largest executive coaching and practice management company for dentists anywhere on planet Earth. We just went over about 100 advisors in about 80 markets in North America. At any given time, there's probably somewhere between 1,000 to 1,200 dental practices under management, probably about $2 billion a year under management just in our dental division. But what's more important to me is we are the most total immersion postgraduate program that a dentist can be part of anywhere. And we wear three major hats. We are the executive coaches for our dentists and their teams, both personally as well as professionally, because last time I checked, they got to take them with them when they go to the office every day. Second thing we are practice advisors. And third thing that makes us very, very different, I think, is key business strategists. So in the world of evolving dentistry, where mergers and acquisitions and bringing on associates and really just helping them to evolve through the profession, we do all of that. And if they go to the website, they'll see all kinds of different divisions to the company, whether it be hygiene mastery or our accredited training universities or our executive coaching programs or our online monitoring programs or our wealth mastery division, Sequoia Private Client Group. You name it, we're in all of those spaces. So we really want to be supportive to our clients. And I think one of the great testimonials is that most of our doctors stay with us for a long, long time. Typical dentist relationship with us can last 7 to 10 to 20 years. So I think it's not because we didn't get the job done, it's because we continue to raise their bar.
What does this cost?
It depends on the scope of the work, but our typical engagement with a practitioner, single location, maybe 2 or 3 dentists, whatever it is typically about $3,000 a month, which, the way I look at it is, and hopefully the way our clients look at it is is nothing compared to what they grow their business by. Our typical practitioner, when we take them on, grows exponentially by about 30 to 72% a year. So when we talk about the cost of 2 or 3 crowns a month, it's a great investment. So I don't even talk about it as cost. I talk about it as investment in their business, in their life, and in their career.
So when they sign up, is there a contract? Is it a period of length? How does that work?
Well, here's the nice thing about Fortune Management, and it's maybe why we have grown and why we're the leader, is we will not allow any of our people to hide behind a contract. So when a doctor gets involved with Fortune, it's a really, really basic 2-page agreement. And I'll tell you what it says, Howard. It says at any time, if this relationship isn't working, you can fire us with 30 days notice. And the reason we do that is because we want to be totally transparent with every dentist. One of the big nightmares that you see in your profession is people signing doctors to 1, 2, 3-year contracts and then not letting them out of it. And I think it's a disservice to the profession. It gives everybody who does this kind of work a bad name. Why we don't do it that way is because it would violate the number one principle of coaching, which is you can't coach people that don't respect you, that like you, that trust you, that want to be with you. So what we're really doing for every one of our dentists when we engage with them that way is we're giving them 100% certainty that either we're going to get the job done and we're going to have a great relationship long term, or we're not. And, most dentists will look at me and they'll say, well, this is kind of a stupid business model. Why would you let anyone out in 30 days notice? I go, because of all the reasons I just said, we want to stand on our own morals and laurels, but also I say, but there's another little line in that 2-page agreement too, and it says, we at Fortune can fire you any time we want. And they go, would you do partnership? And it means that we both got to work together on this, and you got to do your part. And the last thing I would want would be a dentist in America to screw our record up of working with successful practices. But I also wouldn't want them coming on your show or tweeting in your chat rooms saying Fortune didn't work for them. So we want to really stay above the line on those conversations.
I think that's amazing, but I would take it a step further, and not having having to have a contract is a red flag. So it still surprises me that people still get married to this day. I mean, just don't sign a contract with a practice management. Don't sign a contract with your lover. I mean, imagine if you went up to your friend and said, "Hey, are you my best friend?" And they said, "Yeah, we've been best friends forever." Okay, well, if you break up with me and you're no longer my friend, I get your car. Nobody would sign that. So
I 100% agree, brother. That's why we don't do it that way. And I think we're the only ones out there that kind of live by that credo, to be honest with you.
So you have 3 courses starting March 1st. I see you have, in March 1st at Las Vegas, you have Training University Session 1, Foundations of Practice Mastery. On March 1st, you're also at Middleburg Heights, Ohio. And you're also March 1st at Elk Grove, California. Where's Elk Grove? Is that San Fran?
Sacramento area, I believe.
Sacramento. So
yeah, and just to give you some feedback on that. I mean, we run accredited training universities that are CE accredited in about 50 major markets in the country. There's lots of going on at one time.
Yeah. So is that a one-day class, or is that the beginning of a year-long program? Is that
Yeah, the way our accredited training university works is those are all 2-day modular programs, and there's 5 of them that usually will take a practice somewhere around 24 months to complete because we space them out.
So it's
we don't want a team.
5 2-day courses spaced out over 2 years?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Okay.
Reason is we want to be sympathetic to not be pulling teams out of practices and affect their production. Now, the one good thing that I think is important with Fortune is we're not asking our clients to put their whole team on an airplane and fly them to Arizona or Atlanta or Maryland. We don't do that. What we do is we bring those accredited training universities to the major cities. So it's a much, I think, more cost-effective way. We found out over the years that doctors and teams, whenever possible, like to sleep in their own beds at night and not get on airplanes. So that's one dimension of it. But yeah, there's 5 different, themes. One is obviously session 1 is foundational, both on the being and the doing of what it takes to be great in a dental practice. Second one focuses on communication and relationships, because one thing I would say is that if there's any, I think if there's any trend in dentistry, it's that the ones who communicate the best seem to get the most success. So communication, relationships. Third one's all about marketing, the emphasis on marketing. Fourth one is all about execution.
Okay,
and the fifth one, we actually, go ahead.
No, go
I was
through.
going to say the fifth one is we dedicate to financial freedom.
Okay, so 5. So go through them again. 5 is financial freedom. Go through 1. 1 you said was foundations.
One is foundational. That's setting up what I think is mission critical to any business, and that's the culture, the structure, and the strategy of that practice.
Okay.
Second one is communication and relationships, both in the practice, but also how they communicate with their patients. And there's a lot of functions of leadership in that one as well. Third one, all about marketing, and 5 different dimensions to marketing a dental practice these days. I could spend a whole hour with you on that, but bottom line is it's branding and identity, it's social media, it's external marketing, it's internal marketing, and it's case presentation and enrollment skills. So that's a wonderful 2-day process. Fourth one is what I call a deep dive into all 5 of the business engines of a practice, that being the financial engine, the systems engine, the clinical and technology engine, the marketing engine, and the people engine. And then the fifth one, we've always been really committed to making sure that anyone, not just the doctors, but the people who work in that office, all have a chance and have the right to have financial freedom in their lives by doing nothing more than making good financial decisions and adding value to the patients. Simple concept.
So that deep dive was, you said 5 things: financials, systems, technology, people, and what was the other one? Marketing?
Marketing, yeah.
So marketing.
Yeah, which are really the 5 engines that have to drive the vision of any dental practice.
Yeah. So financial, my words of wisdom on financial is, you can marry more money in a minute than you can earn in a lifetime. I see these hot young dental grads out, and I see all these 80-year-old widows who have hundreds of millions of dollars. If you say to someone, who's worth $100 million, describe that person. They always say, oh, it's some CEO of a Fortune 500 company. No, that guy died of a heart attack. His widow sold the company, put it in tax-free bonds. Almost every 100-million-year-old is an 80-year-old widow. That's what you should do. You should find that widow. Financial, the problem I see with financial is, I see it all the time. Dentists always live above their means. Like if you come out of school and you're an engineer, you'll buy a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and you'll go get a job at Intel or Motorola. But if you're a dentist, physician, or lawyer, you got to buy the McMansion. The engineer will buy a Honda Accord. The dentist has to get a BMW. They don't live moderate in any means. Like on vacation, normal people go to the lake with a case of beer and a fishing pole. They have to fly to Hawaii. Normal people eat at a chain restaurant like Applebee's. They have to go to a 5-star restaurant. Most of the dentists say, just name me one area of your life. It's not your watch is a Rolex, your car's overnight, your house is too big, your vacations are too, they can't live below their means. Why is that with dentists and physicians?
Well, I think first of all, that's what we coach them not to do. The number one rule of wealth is spend less than you earn and invest the difference. So listen, by the way, I'm big on them having huge goals. I want them to have the big mansion and the Mercedes-Benz and the Rolex. Oh, look
My
at her.
granddaughter's cuter than yours. And I'll be down in a little bit.
Good looking kid.
Oh my gosh.
But what I was going to say is I want them to have that, and I want them to have good goals, but I also make sure that we impress upon them that it's how you go about getting those goals and in what order. In other words, the greatest investment that a dentist is ever going to make is in their practice if they do it right. And that can be the goose that lays the golden eggs. I mean, if they do it right and we can get them, dropping 20% EBITDA at the bottom line and also practicing above the line as a wet finger dentist, either they want to or they don't want to, but show them how to build a machine. And if they do all those things and they follow what we've taught for over a quarter century, they'll be able to drive the nice stuff. They can feed their egos. And that's really what it's about, right?
But Bernie,
that's why you asked why. It's ego driven, right?
It's ego driven. Yeah,
sure.
just get rid of that ego, man. Let the air out. I mean, my God, it's like the difference between my patients in Phoenix that drive a Cadillac or a Mercedes-Benz versus in Scottsdale. In Scottsdale, everyone that drives a Mercedes-Benz is leasing it, and in Phoenix or Glendale or Chandler, if they drive a Mercedes-Benz, they bought it in cash. I mean, when you go up to some areas like Beverly Hills, so many areas, it's all just fake it till you make it. But I want to say what I think is one of the most fundamental problems in all of dentistry, and that is you can't get into dental school or med school or law school unless you make straight A's. So it's all these introvert geeks that lived in the library. And in dental school, if you're well-rounded, in a frat, had a girlfriend, was a moderate, made B's and C's, and okay, you'd never be a dentist. So you got all these introvert scientists, mathematicians, and then when I ask them on Dental Town and I poll them, what stresses you out the most? It's the people. Their staff drive them insane, their patients drive them insane, and they're the happiest when they're sitting in the corner of a library reading a physics books. So how do you coach this person who they go into the room and do a root canal for an hour. And I've seen them a million times. What do they do when they're done? They leave the room, they go in their office and shut the door. I mean, it exhausts them, it drains them. They basically they're surgeons, they're microsurgeons who work with their hands, and now you're telling them they got to be a leader and a CEO, and how do you train this scientist, this mad scientist, to be a leader and to communicate with staff and case presentation? And they also tell you, Bernie, they say, I hate sales. And when you talk about case presentation, right, they say, I don't want to sell dentistry. Who is this Bernie Stoltz guy? I didn't go to school 8 years to be a salesman, and you're telling me to lead my staff and motivate and sell dentistry? That's not why I went to 8 years of school and memorized geometry.
Yeah, well, I'd answer it a couple of ways, Howard, and you're spot on with that. First of all, for us, we call it job security. But the reality of it is first thing we do is we get clear that different dentists have different behavior patterns. And really what we explain to them is that there are really three natures of a business person. One is that of an artist, skilled producer, and that's the dentist that you're talking about right there. The artist, skilled producer, let me go do my art. Let me go do my skilled labor in operatory number 2. But what they also need to understand is that there also needs to be two other natures involved in the success of their enterprise. One being the nature of the leader/manager, and the third one being that of the entrepreneur. Now, what we'll tell them is, and this is the norm. It's not always that way, but I'll tell you, if I had to give you the norm, most of them are very comfortable in that first nature as a skilled producer, and most of them have some entrepreneurial blood in them, or they wouldn't have gone into private practice in the first place. So I think we can get them there. But and by the way, there are some who love to lead, love to communicate, love to manage. So we don't want to pigeonhole them. But what I would say is the coaching to the norm is to show them to fall in love with what they're not. And what I mean by that is if you're not going to be comfortable in that leadership management role, let's hire and get a strong practice administrator. Let's get someone else so that we have somebody to coach in that role. So I think, and the other thing is, as you know, there's DISC profiles out there. You know, we're going to coach a high D dentist a hell of a lot different than a high I or an S or a C. And the ones that you're talking about right now are typically the SC, right? They don't want to lead and they're into the details and they want to do surgery. And so when we identify that, then we know how to coach that differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Back to a little bit on systems. I mean, I've been covering all the board. I love on your website how you talk about um, take charge of your practice. We hone your technical skills in dental school, but little did you know that in addition to your DDS or DMD, you need to fill the role of CEO, CFO, Director of HR, and Vice President of Marketing, because today being a dentist also means being a small business owner. In addition to providing top-notch patient care, you have to worry about profitability, personnel issues, training your staff, insurance, taxes, marketing, more. Chances are all these extra responsibilities are eating into your personal time that would be better spent with your family or pursuing other interests. That's where fortune management comes in. Here's another systemic problem which bothers me the most. And I don't want to talk about it too much because I'll have a stroke, a heart attack, and I'll die right on my own podcast. And then I'll be the fourth person who died on Dentistry Uncensored. I'll join the
I'll write your obit for you, brother.
I had the honor of actually watching him die right on Dentistry. And that is, in every dental office, you have all your patient information, insurance, and billing, and your horrible Shine that owns Dentrix or Patterson that owns EagleSoft. And I was on, what was the one I was on for 30 years? SoftDent. And then you have all your accounting over here on Quicken, QuickBooks Pro, or I use Peachtree. And so none of the dentists know their financial number. But my old man, when he owned Sonic Drive-Ins, I swear to God, you remember back in the day, do you remember the company National Cash Registers that then got folded into IBM?
NCR.
NCR. My old man's cash register in Sonic Drive-In when I was 10 had more practice management information. When they delivered meat, you entered it in the cash register. That's where you did all your sales. My dad could pull the sheet at the end of the day and say, wow, the Sonic Drive-In did $2,000. We had 31% food costs. We had blah, 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 blah. And I can put $312.16 in net income. It's schizophrenic. They have half of their viable information of accounting, and it's not merging. So when I go to a doctor, then I ask him any of his numbers. What was your labor? I don't know. Even if he tells me a number, he'll say, oh, it's 25%. I'll say, does that include FICA matching, uniform, health insurance, 401k? He doesn't know. I'll say, well, what, they'll come out of a hygiene check. I'll say, you just did your 1 gazillionth hygiene check over the last 20 years. Your hygienist did the standard cleaning, exam, and bite wings. She's worked for you for 9 years. Did you make $7.18 after taxes, or did you lose $12? He doesn't know. So then I go look at his deals. He signed up for 12 different PPOs, and I say, okay, you do PPO fillings on an MOD on a molar anywhere from $100 to $200. What does it cost you to do an MOD when you're in there in that room for an hour? No idea. I mean, every other industry, I don't care if it's hotels, motels, every industry, accounting is part of their practice management information system. So I think it's a structural issue that they don't understand their finances because their software is so horrible. And that's why I switched to Open Dental. Not that Open Dental does any of that. It's just that Open Dental's Nathan Sparks up in Oregon, he's the only practice management software CEO who's at least listening. I mean, Dentrix and EagleSoft, they don't give a shit. They won't even come on the show. I flew to Provo, Utah to talk to Dentrix, going all the way back into the 80s and 90s. I flew to Effingham, Illinois, and talked to the EagleSoft people. Do you know where Effingham is?
I do, home of Heartland Dental.
Yeah, it's out in the middle of effing nowhere. And I flew to Melville, New York to talk to Stan Bergman. I flew to Minneapolis, St. Paul to talk to Pete Frechette. No one cares. At least Open Dental knows this is a nightmare. But so my question to you is, what practice management system would you tell a 27-year-old woman dentist? She got out 3 years ago. She's been working at Heartland. She's going to open up her own office. What practice management software system would you recommend?
Well, first of all, what I would say, and this is really, really important, it's a motto we have in our company, and that is the more you measure something, the better it gets. And there's no way that these folks can make informed, what I call weightability or believability weighted decisions in their business without having key measurable statistics. Now, what I feel is, and by the way, there's a reason why most of these softwares traditionally have not put the P&Ls and the financials of the accounting tied into a Dentrex or an EagleSoft. And that is because there's been a weird belief about not having open book management and not sharing financials. Now, we don't agree with that. What we teach is open book management, so it's a non-factor. But I think what I would say is it's not so much, I think in the future, it will all be tied together. I think what you're also going to see in the future is you're going to see decision-making software and apps, whereas based on the statistics coming at that practice, we're actually going to be able to tell that practice what are the 4 or 5 moves they've got to make to correct it. But right now, I mean, first of all, Dentrex, EagleSoft, I think they're all fine. What I like, though, is what we put on top of that. We put a monitoring system on top, which is cloud-based. It's called Square Practice. And basically, we can put that on top of any of the leading softwares that are out there, practice management softwares, so that there we can merge in the QuickBooks data along with the practice statistics. So we're kind of going in that direction, because if we can't measure it, we can't teach it or coach it.
Where is that on your website? I don't find
Square Practice.
Yeah.
We call it Fortune Performance. Fortune Performance. It's one of the categories. It's there if you looked at there. But basically, it's powered by an outside company called Square Practice.
Huh? And where's Square Practice located out of?
They're based out of Sacramento, California, but also I believe they have some roots in Salt Lake City as well.
Well, why don't you why don't you put the CEO on that and talk about that more? Would you want to do that?
Yeah, you know what? Let's have my people get you. We can get Ryan some info. I think they'd love to come on.
Your people call my people. My people is 3 cats and Ryan. So I prefer.
Well, Ryan's doing a hell of a job.
I know. Poor guy has to work with his dad. I can't tell you how dead inside he is.
Well, I got 2 kids working with me too. It's actually a great compliment.
When people ask me, should they get? People tell me, they say, "Oh, I love Dentrix." I'll say, "Okay, so after a root canal, did you make $12 or lose $12? Oh, I don't know, but I love Dentrix. Okay, you have a head injury. Your mother dropped you. When they say, well, what do you recommend, Dentrix or EagleSoft? I say, well, would you like to amputate your leg above or below the knee? Would you prefer to die of a heart attack or cancer? I mean, so I really want to hear about this Square Practice.
Well, yeah, I want you to take a look at that, or, certainly have them on.
By the way, you have Gary McLeod on your team.
He's one of the original founding partners. He lives not too far away from you, down in Tucson.
He lives in Tucson, but wasn't he when I started dental school in 1980, he was
Quest Ventures.
Quest. Was that historically like the first practice management?
That was the first. That is our DNA of Fortune today. There were 2 guys.
You tell him he's got to drive to my. I got a home. I can do it over. Skype, but he's only an hour and a half away. I got a home studio. I mean, I saw that guy in '87. I saw him in. When did Quest go away?
Well, Quest. What we did in 1989-90 is when Quest merged with. At the time, Tony Robbins he was just a young kid at the time doing firewalks, and kind of brought Tony Robbins' personal development technology along with Quest together, and we blew it all up and called it Fortune. So 1990 was when Fortune really started. So we're in our 28th year. But our DNA on the practice management side was Quest. And, of course, Gary McLeod, Dr. McLeod, was really the father of, in my eyes, the father of dental coaching, and is still doing great today. I just played golf with him in Scottsdale, as a matter of fact. We just had our annual meetings.
Oh, my God, you guys should have both came here. We should have done this podcast in our dining room.
We should have. But
When are you guys
he's
going to be
doing
in
great, man.
Scottsdale again? When are you going to be out here again?
Whenever you want, man. No, we broke the ice, so
Well, hey,
happy to be a regular contributor.
I'll tell you what I'm trying to do big time, and that is this. I know my homies. I mean, I'm a dentist. I'd rather pull 4 wisdom teeth than golf any day of the week. I don't want to do a root canal on number 8. I don't even want to do one on a molar. I want to do a retreat with a broken file. I mean, I get it. The coolest thing when someone comes in and they're in pain and they can't sleep and they're scared and I can fix that, and I mean, I love it, but they always don't want to do the business. So my job is like, I don't have to encourage them to learn about implants and bone grafting. Hell, they do that on their vacations. You know how
Sure.
many times I run into dentists and they're down here on vacation. And I say, "Oh, what are you doing on vacation?" And the wife rolls her eyes. Well, and my husband's going to 3 dental courses at Spear and Scottsdale, and
Sure.
so I'm just sitting by the swimming pool drinking. I mean, I don't have to motivate someone to learn about Invisalign. They love that shit, but they
Yeah.
don't know any of their financials. So any of your leaders, I mean, you got so many guys. I mean, you got Paul Bash, you got Renee Schubert, Laura Boone, Reagan Hartman, Deborah. You got so many legends in your field. Any of them you want to set on, come have them. And I'd like to do that guy from Square Practice, because what I believe in my 30-year success is what made the ones float to the top. I only saw one thing in common. Some did implants, some did cosmetic dentistry, some had Medicaid denture practices. But what they all had in common is they all took at least 100 hours of continuing education every single year. They were CE junkies. So they got an hour commute to work. So my only core competency to this podcast is I can get on studs like you and Carl Mish and Gordon Christian and John Coyce. And so they're driving to work and they don't even want to listen to the show. They just don't want to listen to Benghazi and Trump and all this political, the toxic stuff. So I'm trying to put a lot of great ideas in their head, and I like to put as much practice management stuff in their head because, like I say, I don't have to motivate them to learn how to do Invisalign. They were born to be surgeons working with their hands. So, but I would like to get Gary up here because he's only 90 minutes away, and he was a legend for me. I mean, when I was in school. So when I came to, did I ever tell you my Omar Reed story?
No.
And he was on the show. Me and Ryan went to his house. He lives in Phoenix. We went to his house, did a great show. I just got out of school. I was $87,000 student loans. I just borrowed $100,000 to start my practice. I didn't have a dime. I didn't have a pot to piss in. And he had this big old course at his office. It was several $1,000s. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a poor 24-year-old dumbass kid. I'm just going to drive over there, and I'm going to walk in there and tell him that someday I'm going to make enough money to be able to afford to go to his course. And I have a feeling he'll say, shut the fuck up and sit down and take the course. So I went in there and I said, so I got there, it was an hour before he pulled up. I said, Omar, I just want to shake your hand. I don't have enough money for your course, but someday I'm going to be successful enough. I'm going to be able to afford to take your course. And he just smiled real big and he goes, it's on the house. Come in. And it was just the most amazing thing. He took me under his wing for a 2-day course. And at that time, the other legend was Gary. And do you remember Avram King?
Yes.
Who passed away?
Yeah. Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. He passed away, but so that would
Well,
be so.
Gary's still a wealth of wisdom. I think it'd be great to get him on, and any of our other people, And overall, I agree with you. There's not a shortage of clinical CE out here in the profession. I think, if anything, there's maybe an overabundance of it. But I think really showing them to fall in love with what they're not is really what we love to do and running the business. I mean, here's here's the painful conversation you have to have with dentists, whether they're young or old. And that is, look, the average GP in this country, the average general practice collects about $800,000 a year top line. And the average below the line is about 28% pre-tax earnings. So what does that mean? That means that, the typical dentist, if there is a typical out there, is maybe making $200,000 to $225,000 a year, and that's before they pay their taxes. To me, that's not fair. It's pathetic. And one of the things that I tell them first off is, look, let's get clear about something. If you didn't go out and invest all the money, if you didn't sign off on the lease and the loans and have your overhead, Heartland Dental or Aspen or anybody else out there would still pay you 30% of your collectible production, and you could go home and not worry about anything and have nothing invested. So if that is not the choice you made, and the choice was to own your own business, then here's the question I have. Shouldn't you not only get paid as a wet-fingered dentist, but shouldn't you also get paid for being the CEO and the investor of your own company? And so, one of the things that I want to see is I want them to, getting back to the Quicken and QuickBooks, I want them to set their P&Ls up so that they are associates of their own company, where they take 30% of their restorative work. But also, let's focus on if we can get them 10 to 20 points to the bottom line in EBITDA. That would make for a happier profession overall.
Yeah, and they memorize geometry, trig, calculus, and they don't even know what EBITDA stands for. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. One last final thing. I can't believe we're over an hour. Hell, we're 10 minutes over an hour. One last thing is this. You give these 5 courses. We put up, we started online CE because I'm out here at University of Phoenix, so I saw that going up, so I stole that idea from them. And we put up 411 courses. They're coming up on 1 million views. It would just be legendary for you to create an online CE course for us one day to give them this. And the other thing is we make all those courses free for all dental students, so you can start planting seeds in the dental students' heads. They're big users of those courses. Again, thank you so much for all that you've done for dentistry for 30 years. Like I said, you were one of the first, I think, 3 people I ever emailed to come on the show. I'm glad 1,000 days later you finally came on the show. And my God, thank you so much for all that you do for dentistry. I just can't say enough good things about you. Again, thank you so much, and I hope you have a rocking hot day.
Well, Howard, back at you, brother. And this will be the first of many times, and appreciate everything that we're going to do together. And we got to get you on one of our live big shows one of these days. Maybe Cyril World in Florida in September or something.
Absolutely, I'd love it.
Because I could see you in front of 7,000 or 8,000 people, right?
Now is that Oh my God, I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah. So you want me to speak at Sarah World? Absolutely, that would just be a blast.
Well, we'll talk, and we're happy to do an online course. But listen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and let's stay connected, and we'll keep this up.
Okay, buddy, and thank you, Ryan.
My story starts back in San Francisco, where I was born to 19-year-old kids who really raised me to believe that if I had all the things I really wanted to accomplish with my life in maybe a financial and materialistic way, that I'd be able to go out and do the things I wanted to do with my life, and ultimately that would lead to being happy. And so it had been 30 years old, I'd already founded and created 5 different companies. And most people looking back at me now, saw a 30-year-old guy who was living the American dream with multiple homes and a beautiful family and an incredible career. But what I tell people today is, what if I told you that was maybe one of the most scary times ever in my life? I had to face the reality that, is this all there was? And most people understand that concept. Everyone has fought for the goals and what they thought was going to make them happy in their life, and then they got it. Didn't necessarily make them happy. Really, I made 2 distinctions in my early 30s. One was that it was not about having what I needed to have to do the things I wanted to be happy. It was really about changing my whole focus to personal development. Up until 30 years old, it was all about personal achievement. What now has become my mantra for living is really being first, then getting to do, and then having all that you want in your life, and also all that you want in everyone else's life. And I think that's really what has led over into fortune management. I know that every practice that we coach and and help to get what they want today, we always make sure that they understand that it's about them being first, being an organization, being a healthcare provider, so that we can help them to ultimately turn their dreams into their realities. I think if there's one word that spells it all out, which is an emotional state that I come from every single day, is gratitude. I think because gratitude will help you to be happier, gratitude will help you to be kinder, gratitude will help you to live in infinite abundance. And so one of the focal messages that we give to every person that comes through Fortune's organization is get grateful. Get grateful for all you have and for the profession that is all about serving. And dentistry is that.
Bernie Stoltz is one of the nation's most recognized and sought-after authorities on practice management. For over 2 decades, Bernie has been transforming the business of healthcare. He enables doctors and practice owners to learn how to effect positive change with their businesses and, ultimately, their lives. As CEO, Bernie has led the growth of Fortune Management into the largest and leading postgraduate full immersion program for doctors and their teams. He leads more than 70 coaches in over 50 cities throughout the United States and Canada. Bernie presents over 100 seminars each year, offering entertaining and educational programs packed with 25 years of proven practice management systems. He delivers a level of passion, power, and playfulness to the healthcare community that inspires action and transformation. Please welcome your speaker and coach, Mr. Bernie Stoltz.